not forgotten about, sent on divine assignment. It's time for Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free. That means 30 minutes for your mind, your body, spirit, and emotions. And don't act like you don't have time. You have time for everyone and everything else. Sit back and relax because if you're here, that means this show is for you or it's for someone you know. But most likely, it's for both of y'all. Deep breaths, love. Let's go. Hey family, hey family, hey family. It's your girl, Miss Michelle Allen Franklin. Yes, Mrs. Michelle DIY for divine intervention. Because you know there are no coincidences in this world. Only God's divine intervention in our lives. And Mrs. Community Builder. Why? Because you know your girl is giving you the good information, boo, the things you need for your mind, your body, your spirit, and your emotions. Y'all, it's Monday and Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free. We're on the radio. I am so happy and so excited. I was going through all of the shows this weekend. This past week, I made sure that I downloaded all of the shows. Um, because I've been in so many different things that I hadn't had time to go over and make sure all of the shows are on the podcast list. And so I want to tell you that today we're celebrating 3 months on the radio. Woo woo. I am so excited and so blessed. I said, Lord, thank you. 3 months on the radio, Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free. I just want to go back and tell y'all really quickly what we've been doing. For those of y'all who may be new to the show, um, I've had a couple of shows, just a couple, that haven't been recorded. And so if you don't see the number, know that it is just because it wasn't recorded that day. But the majority of the shows are over there. Everything that has been recorded is on the podcast list. Again, that is Reflections CMGF at YouTube. The Just want to share real quick our first 12 shows. So first show was depression and anxiety. We did a depression and anxiety screening. Do you have depression and anxiety? Because your girl suffered for about 2 years before I even realized the level of depression that I was just pushing and pressing through each and every day, working and acting like I was fine, fronting. Ain't no future in your fronting. And yeah, I was fronting, acting like everything is okay. And when I started looking at statistics, there are 1 in 5 people that are suffering with depression or anxiety. Y'all know your girl is a nurse. I've been a nurse for 25 years, but just not in that mental health realm. And so when I started educating myself, I said, Lord, I have to talk about this. And the foundation of everything I do is Romans 8:28. For we know that all things, y'all, that mean the good, the bad, and the crazy, all things are working together for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And so, Lord, what purpose do you have in me suffering for these 2 years? Because God is not a just because God. How many of us know that? God is not a just because God. And so if you're going through something, it's generally not for you, right? It is for you, Lord. What you have me to learn in this? What blessing do you want me to obtain from this? And Lord, then how can you use me as a vessel? And so that's what I've done. So that first week, depression and anxiety screening, because I didn't even know. When I finally got tested, I was in severe anxiety, severe depression. The numbers were ridiculous. And so I don't want you out there suffering, not knowing. The first step is knowing where you are. So again, first show, depression, anxiety screening for the mind. For the body, that week we did knowing your numbers. That was your cholesterol, your A1C, your triglycerides, that's the fat, those things, 102. That show was not recorded. That show was not recorded. But if you go to Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free, I do talk about it. I've been doing this for some time now with the podcast. And so knowing your numbers, it is on there. Look somewhere. I'm trying to think of where it is. It might be under the reflections. I mean, right, might be under the relationship series, possibly, but it is there. Number three, third week we did what's the real reason you're overweight? That is your spirit. What is the real reason you're overweight? Because a lot of times we blame food and what we're eating as the reason that we're overweight. But how many of you know that if your spirit is heavy, right? If your spirit is clogged up with some things, then it can also contribute to your weight journey and your weight loss journey. It may be the reason why you're not losing weight, saying, I only eat once, I only do this. But if your spirit is heavy, boo, yes, that spiritual weight makes a difference. So we talked about that. 104 is emotions. The fourth show was chronic stress. Chronic stress, if you hadn't heard, is the number one silent killer. It used to be high blood pressure as the number one silent killer, meaning people don't know that this thing right here is creeping up on you and it is taking people out. Used to be high blood pressure, and now it is chronic stress. Chronic stress has been linked to all cardiovascular disease, has been linked to most of the diseases that we all deal with in our day-to-day lives that we all know of, and causes inflammation. Chronic stress causes chronic inflammation, which has a uh, terrible influence on your vessels, has an influence on your heart, has an influence on your brain. And so we had that conversation week 4. Then we went into a series called Matters of the Heart, because that went into February, and February is cardiovascular disease month. And so, how are things affecting our heart? And so it was, do you have PTSD with the week of the mind? Do you have PTSD? And so, went over some symptoms. That show was a really, really great show. I got some calls on that show. It is, your girl was diagnosed with PTSD, and I thought the lady was crazy. Ma'am, I haven't been in the service. What do you mean I have PTSD? The test was very extensive, it was about 3 hours. And I shared a story very transparently because we don't realize a lot of us are suffering through and have seen some things from our childhood to our young adulthood. And we do what I did. We press on, we keep going. We don't think that it's a big deal. We don't understand how uh, your body is still remembering the things that have happened to you, whether you acknowledge them or not. And so it is, do you have PTSD? And there were some signs there listed. 106 was matters of the heart. It was how your weight loss benefits benefits your body, and myths that come along with that. That show was not recorded. That was another show that was not recorded. 107 was matters of the heart, the spirit of bitterness. How many of us know that bitterness is very heavy? And if you're carrying bitterness in your spirit, how it affects your heart on the day to day, it can definitely cause disease. It causes your blood pressure to go up and all different things. 108 was emotions, matters of the heart. That show was not recorded. But 109, we went into another series for the mind called Demonic Entities. Demonic Entities is another series I started a few years ago, mainly because I kept seeing a vision, and I kept hearing my pastor from Baltimore, Maryland, Jamal Bryant, when I was a part of his church, he would say the devil and his imps. And I started seeing the devil falling from the sky. And I'm wondering, Lord, why are you showing me this? And he showed me how the devil and his imps, those 200 angels that went with God, um, excuse me, that went with the devil out of heaven, how they show up in our day to day life. And it shows up as a spirit of fear, the spirit of jealousy, um, the spirit of anger, again, the spirit of bitterness, the spirit of unworthiness, the spirit of unforgiveness, right? 200 angels. How do they show up in this world in that demonic spirit? So that is demonic entities. We started that week with self sabotage, some signs of self sabotage. The next week we did the body and we did chronic inflammation and how it shows up through food addiction. The third week of that month, we did under the demonic entity series, we did shame and guilt. Because how many of us know that those twins, shame and guilt, hold us hostage? I talked about how they show up in your life and how you can tell, and some things to do, and how, thank you, Lord, for the best twins, grace and mercy. Yes, the best twins, grace and mercy, can beat them up every time. And the last week was the last 12th show, which was under that demonic entities series, and that was emotional unavailability. Emotional unavailability. Guys, we've had some powerful shows. We have had some powerful shows. And again, I'm thankful to be here for this opportunity for this past 3 months. And I know that those replays, the ones that are available, again, are available on the YouTube channel, Reflections, CMGF, that's Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free at YouTube. Today, we are moving forward with a new series. It is relationships. We're moving into our relationship series. Oh, man. I talk about things that I've, dealt with because, when you're going through things, you realize that, again, I'm not the only one going through these things. And if I'm feeling this way, maybe somebody else out there is feeling this way. If I'm experiencing these things, maybe someone else out there is experiencing these things. And if you haven't experienced anything with your mental health realm, then the statistics say that 1 in 8 people in their lifetime will experience some form of mental health, something. Um, and so that's whether you acknowledge it or not. And so for me, I'm just bringing forth the information. So today in our relationship series and dealing with the mind, we're going to talk about gaslighting. We're going to talk about gaslighting. Um, this is very near and dear to me because if you've never heard of gaslighting, it's people that make you think that you're crazy in your relationship with yourself. Understanding that the most important relationship that you will ever have is a relationship with yourself. And so, self acceptance, self care, self compassion, setting healthy boundaries, understanding that we are all on a personal uh, growth journey, and showing up in this world as your true, authentic self is something that I'm really, really passionate about helping people to get to because I struggle with these things. I go into a little bit more in depth. Again, we only have 30 minutes here on the show, but I go into it a little bit more in depth under the relationship series, again, on the podcast channel. Under the relationship tab, under podcast, you'll find more in depth there. But gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation where one person tries to make another person doubt their own perception, memory, or sanity. It's often subtle and can happen in any kind of relationship, romantic, this is important, familiar, friendships, and at work. And this term, it comes from 1944. I'm going to do a podcast and go into a little bit more of the history, but for the sake of time, I'll leave that for the podcast. But today we're going to talk about who is more susceptible to gaslighting and why, how to recognize it if someone is gaslighting you, and including your work relationships, and how to break away from gaslighters. Okay. Anyone can be gaslighted, but certain traits can make you more vulnerable. And so, for my empathetic people, and I am very empathic. So, for people that are empathic or people pleasing individuals, they tend to give others the benefit of the doubt and made themselves before blaming others. So, it makes you a little more, they spot us on the radar, right? They spot us. Number two is those who have low self esteem or past trauma. because they may already second guess yourself. If you had low self esteem or experienced some trauma in the past, you know you're second guessing yourself. You don't ever really believe, you're always doubting. It makes you more easily manipulated. Number three, people that are highly dependent, especially in toxic relationships or workplace environments. If someone relies heavily on the other person emotionally or financially, we all know someone like this, if it's not ourselves, right? Number four, and we're talking who's more susceptible to gaslighting, is a young or inexperienced individual. If you haven't had a lot of life experiences, you can make it, it makes it easier to recognize or to be targeted for manipulation. So these are signs that you're being gaslighted, included in your work relationship. Some general signs are you are constantly second guessing yourself. Are you constantly second guessing yourself? Do you feel like you're too sensitive? Do you frequently apologize? This is huge. Do you frequently apologize even when it's not your fault or even if it's something that you haven't done wrong? Right? I'm trying to get my baby girl. She apologizes all the time. And I'm going, no, babe, that's not your fault. We're not doing that. And so understand and recognize it in your children as well. Um, are you one of those that feel confused, anxious, or like you're going crazy? Are you one of those that feel confused, anxious, or like you're going crazy? Do you find yourself making excuses for someone else's behavior? That's huge. In relationships, these are some ways to know that you're being gaslighted. These are some signs. They deny things you know they did or they said. You deny things that you know they did or they said. I got to tell y'all this story. Of course, I was in my early 20s and I was dating this guy and I found his car. I was driving by and I saw his car. He had a very unique car. Saw his car at the movies. And so, of course, he told me he was going to be somewhere else. So I get out of my car. I look just to make sure I know it was his car because, again, he had this very unique car. But get out and look at the license plate, look in the car, see the seats are back like he normally had the seats and all of the thing. And so, of course, I, called him out and asked him about this. And he said to me, he said, so convincingly, babe, that wasn't my car. He said, babe, that wasn't my car. He said, I said, I know that was your license plate. That was your car. I saw your car. He says, no, that must have been somebody else's license plate. That wasn't mine. That wasn't my car, babe. I'm telling you, that wasn't me. That man lied so well and so good that day. I promise you. And these people are the type of people where you know the sky is blue. And they'll be saying, no, but the sky is red. And you're going to know the sky is blue. And they will be so convincing. We all know these type of people. They will be so convincing that you'll be saying, well, I guess it do look a little, is it red or is it blue? Yeah, those are those people. In a relationship, they twist your words or accuse you of things you didn't do. They'll twist your words and accuse you of things you didn't do. Those are normally your cheaters, right? Because they are normally out there cheating and doing things. And sometimes they'll make you feel like you're cheating or accuse you of things. They isolate you from your friends and your family, and they make you feel like everything is your fault. That's huge. That's in relationships. At work, your boss or your colleague constantly undermines you or takes credit for your work. You're given contradictory instructions and then blamed for mistakes. Your concerns are dismissed as overreactions or misinterpretations, or you start doubting your own competence or memory about events and conversations. I had a gaslighting situation like this at one of my jobs where some things were going on and I was working and I had talked to a coworker about the lack of work that they were doing because I felt like I was doing all the work and this person was not doing much. And so, and when I confronted my coworker, she got very, very angry at me, almost like the audacity of how dare you. even ask me, talk to me, question me, because I'm a team player. And I'm also a lead and nurse, even though I wasn't in a lead position. But, my first thought is to have a conversation with the person. And so she was so offended. And so the next thing that I know, I'm being, accused of things. This individual started just making it seem like I wasn't doing my work, even though I was doing the bulk of the work. But it was just and was making me second guess myself in different situations. And so you got to be really, really careful with this because, again, knowing who you are and knowing whose you are, understand that, again, we are susceptible to these demonic behaviors of people. And it doesn't matter, where you are in the line of in positions at work, at home, in relationship, we can be susceptible to these things. So, how to break away from a gaslighter? One is this is key: document everything, because again, they'll have you thinking that you're crazy, right? So keep records of conversations, emails, and interactions, especially at work. I don't know who this is for, but I just felt that in my spirit. I said, especially at work. Number two is name the behavior, learn the tactics, and call them out to yourself first or with a trusted friend, a therapist, because these things go over our head because you really would never even think that one, the person that you love, or you a coworker, a manager, people at work, people that you trust, people that should be in position, could be church folk. This happens in the church as well, could make you feel some kind of way like this, like you're crazy. So having documentation, naming the behavior, recognizing the behavior. Number three is trust your feelings. If something feels off, right? It probably is. Your emotions are valid. Let me put a penny in this. Whenever you are going through some mental health, anything, one of the first things that I realized that went was my memory, right? I could not remember little simple things. If someone would come up and say something to me, if I walked away, honey, I would forget. And sometimes we'll just blame it on, oh, I'm tired. Oh, this is old age. Oh, this is whatever. But a lot of times it can be your mental status, right? It could be a key component that you're going through some anxiety, you're going through some depression. And so I could not remember. And so that would make me, when I would say something, it would make me doubt myself. And then that doubt causes you to mistrust. So you'll be saying, I know, but maybe, right? So learning to trust yourself again is key. And so when you write things down, when you start to recognize, when you acknowledge these things, it gives you a foundation of trust where you're rebuilding that trust within yourself again. And so if something feels off, for the people in the back, let me say it again. If something feels off, it probably is, and your emotions are valid. Number four, setting boundaries. Be firm in limiting access and communication. With that young guy, I said, yeah, you know what? I don't want to be in a relationship with someone that lies to this extent. Had me thinking, uh, it's you can have more than one. More than one person can have the same registration or the same license tag. Like, this is the amount of level that the man went to. Setting boundaries. Nope, I cut it off. Limiting access and communication is a strong chopping it off, setting boundaries. Number five, seek outside validation. Talk to trusted people who can help you and help you with this reality check of what's happening. So you're not crazy, girl. Let me tell you what happened. I had situations like this where I've been in, with family, with different people, and I'll talk to my girlfriend, and she said, "Girl, I was there. I remember. No, this is what happened. No, you were right. So and so happened." Don't do that to yourself, right? And so it helps to have outside validation, just again to solidify that foundation of trust within yourself. Number 6 is getting professional help. I told y'all every time therapy is going to be on it. A therapist can help you rebuild your confidence and create an exit strategy. Because some of these relationships, like mine, I was only in that relationship for a few months. But if you've been in a long term relationship, if you're married to a gaslighter, if it's someone again that you trust, if it's a family member, if it's some church folk, you definitely have to create a strategy and an exit plan, and do what's best for you, right? The last is removing yourself if it's safe. Whether it's a relationship or a job, your mental health matters more than staying in a toxic situation. This was huge for me, especially at this job. At my job, I went to the manager and I said, hey, this is going on with this coworker. And it honestly, y'all, was a Karen situation. And so because that person was was a Caucasian persuasion, that meant that everything that she said was right and what I was saying wasn't valid. And that is a whole nother level. That's a whole nother conversation. But it was a very eye-opening situation for me. And so then the manager was afraid because again of the Karen situation. And I'm going to tell this and I'm going to do that. And so the manager, instead of doing her job, didn't back me up, didn't investigate, didn't, any of the things. And so it came to a point, this went on for about 6 months. And at that 6-month period, my mental health was it just plummeted. My spirit was so heavy. I just couldn't even believe the lies and the deceit. I often think of, I've had some good days. I've had some hills to climb. Like that's one of my favorite songs. And you've been lied on. Yeah, it is. It's heavy when people lie on you, right? It affects your spirit. So removing yourself from these situations is always key, especially if it's affecting your mental health. And so I thank each and every person that takes the time to listen to your girl. For those of y'all who have given me feedback on the show, for people that called in, for people that are sending me messages, I thank you. And we're going to continue this thing. We're going to continue. So this is the beginning of our relationship series. It is the mind gaslighting. And I will see y'all next week. Thank y'all for listening. Divine intervention. Thank you for tuning in to Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free with your girl, Miss Michelle D.I. Every week, we will have the uncomfortable but necessary conversations as it relates to your mind, your body, your spirit, and emotions. You've suffered long enough. It's time to break free. So join me every Monday at 1 p.m. right here on KGLD Radio, where you can fill your spirit with gospel all day long. See you next week.